Hello there! Today I'm reviewing a game on Route 66, this time from the point of view of a support in mid-gold, playing mainly Anna and some Baptiste in this match, a little bit of Lucio and Moira to get back to point and overtime. The person I'm watching this time has some experience already, considering he's level 500 plus, and most of the time people just lack the experience and should play the game more since it's constantly changing as well. Anna is generally a very good and strong support due to her kit with nades, sleep darts and nano boosts. First of all, try not to get tilted about your teammates or blaming them, because it's a waste of time to be upset about others and the only person in the team that you can improve is yourself. Don't get me wrong, I'm often upset about what other people do. It's unavoidable, but try not to become too obsessed about it because it doesn't really help you personally. I know it is a big problem if you feel like you depend on what your team is doing, but trying to find the right balance and at least trying to improve your personal skill is the only way to help you get further. Communication is very important in a team-based game, but if people are not doing any callouts, then you need to be able to read situations yourself and try to gain more awareness so you don't rely on your team as much. Also, please keep in mind that there is no 100% right or wrong. There are always different ways to play a hero, a map, or a whole game. Everything is always easier said than done. And something that I keep in mind as well is that everyone is a little bit stressed during the game. Everyone can make mistakes, including myself, but the best thing you can do is to minimize those mistakes and don't turn them into habits. So this game review is about me giving you my personal opinion and tips about how I would have approached things if I were in your situation. And also there are many situational playstyles, and this information cannot be applied to every single game, but we're looking at this specific one right now. Also, I'm not a professional coach, I just do this for fun for my friends, and I have reviewed mainly my friends' gameplays who want to have my opinion. And I also have played the game since it got released, and I never really stopped playing. I actually have some experience in all roles over the years and have a decent general understanding of the game. And my personal skill rating peak is at like 4050, something like that. And I have played at pretty much every rank on different accounts with friends to understand how people play in each bracket. Okay, so let's get this started. First thing I noticed is definitely positioning. This is something that is holding most people back from ranking up, because aim is surprisingly not the main problem. Oftentimes it's also just experience and awareness, but positioning plays a big role in this game. In general, I think using natural cover is very important because you can avoid damage and shoot from a safe area as a support especially. And normally you cannot rely on your shield tanks to protect you either. Standing in the open leaves you vulnerable and you normally have no time to get cover. And natural cover I consider, like, for example, the payload itself. Like, you can always hide behind that, or like if you're defending on the high ground, like this is natural cover, you can hide behind that, and they will typically come from the main area here. So they come like around the corner here, or they're gonna be on the high ground, and if they shoot you, you can always just like step to the right and hide behind natural cover. So I consider everything in the map natural cover. Like this rock here, you can use that. The Widow, for example, is not really using any cover, she's pretty much standing in the open. And I consider like open spaces like this main street, where you can be attacked from plenty of angles and it takes you way too long to get like into a building or behind a wall or something. That gives the enemy team a lot of time to actually kill you before you get to cover. I also noticed that you sometimes stand close to enemies, so it forces your other healer to heal you when you could have avoided it in the first place. And you could both focus your healing on like the tanks or the DPS that need it. So standing slightly further back is sometimes good enough to make a difference. And when I look at your aim, it seems that you are sometimes so under pressure due to your positioning and you miss some shots that were important to hit. So especially if you're not taking damage, you can try to be more patient and align your crosshair before you actually shoot. Instead of wildly throwing shots around and hoping something hits, like you shoot 4 times and then only one of it hits. Here's another situation where you're basically in the open, there's no cover and that Ash is shooting you up there on the gas station. So that's why I always say, like, use natural cover. Your Reinhardt is not with you. You're being shot, nobody can help you. You can't beat them, so it's like you just lose your life for no reason. Okay, thankfully you got healed up, but at the same time, Mercy was forced to heal you when she could have helped at the front line. Like, you could have damage boosted someone to kill the enemy faster, or, you know, Reinhardt currently is under pressure now, but he's like around the corner, so she has to run all the way over there. So avoiding damage is sometimes better than having to heal. Also remember that Anna's weapon, scoped in, is a hitscan weapon, and the non-scoped shot is a projectile, so even if you aim at the target and shoot, if you're not scoped in, it might miss anyway. So maybe you can practice quick scope shots on Anna that I will show here. That doesn't slow your movement speed, and the shots are more reliable.
You're going to be okay.
And I can also see that you are at least trying to do both healing and some damage, which is good, including anti-nades and sleep darts, but you woke up your target immediately after sleep darting, which doesn't give your team enough time to actually follow up on that. The thought and plan is good, but the execution could be better, especially if you communicate with your team and call it out. You should always try to bring value to the team, so if you hit a sleep dart or nade, that can change the whole team fight in your favor. In this case, I feel like you're trying to do that, but it's often at the wrong time or rather random. And also remember that the nade increases healing on your teammates too, so you don't only have to use it offensively. It feels like, looking at this, like just because you have your cooldown ready, you just throw it out there. So you could work on your timing with those abilities. A good example to win a team fight would be this one, where I'm gonna show that here on the screen, where the enemy Zarya already used the bubble, the Rein happened to take down his shield and he got anti-naded, and that's how they won the team fight. So the tanks were so under pressure, the healers didn't have enough time to heal that up in time, and they were so pressured that they had to back off, and that's all because of Ana. Okay, so here you kept the point, so that's fine. Okay, unlucky in this case, you tried to sleep the Reaper and help your Ashe, but he used his coach gun at the same time, so he knocked him back. So maybe you would have hit that shot, but yeah, something like that is like, it can be life-saving. For example, a charging Reinhardt that hit someone, or like someone's getting hooked. You can always save their lives by sleep darting them at the right time. Okay, and right here, you are being shot by that Ashe, and you clearly know what natural cover is because you're using the sign right in front of you, but that was after you got shot. So basically, Ashe only needs 2 shots if he can aim, and he was also damage boosted, so basically if he headshots you, you would have been 1 shot. So you can always use that natural cover that you're using right now, right from the beginning, to avoid more damage and not risking death in the first place. So it also would mean less downtime on heals for your team at the same time. So now you were so distracted by this Ashe shooting you and trying to survive and getting across, still in cover because you're inside this building, which means he can't shoot you anymore unless he walks all the way downstairs. But at the same time you also lost 2 more people on your team, so there was no healing on them. Mercy already died, so you are the only healer, and this is that's pretty much it for this team fight. You already lost that one. And this part right here, where you were trying to heal your Zarya, this is what I mean with, like, be more patient with your shots, try to align your crosshair. It's better to actually hit your shot and take slightly longer than like shooting 5 times and they all miss, and in the end it does nothing but waste time. Here's another situation where I feel like you don't need to be that close, especially when there's a Reaper. He can also just two-shot you if he's close enough, if he aims for your head. So there is not much time for you to actually react once you take damage, so it's better to avoid the damage in the first place. Unlucky. That sleep that would have been good if it was a little bit earlier. D.Va works a little bit weirdly when it comes to that. As soon as she gets into her mech, there's like a little time frame where she seems to be immune to sleep darts or anything else. So your sleep dart hit, but she still got into the mech, so it was a little bit too late. But like the thought itself wasn't bad. Now your team unfortunately split up and you're alone up here, dying to a baby D.Va that is being pocketed by a Mercy. You keep yourself alive with a nade, which was fine. Mercy luckily healed you just in time. It looked like a panic ult because you thought you were about to die and then you just gave it to the first person you could see, which is normally not too bad of a thing to do, but if you have heroes on your team that you can combine it with, then prioritize that. For example, Nano Blade, Nano Death Blossom, Nano Visor, all of those are good options. Remember that it also heals, so if your Ryan, for example, is under a lot of pressure, you can heal him and he deals a lot more damage if he's in swinging range. And the thing is, you basically already won the team fight right here. Because McCree got a lot of picks. Yeah, he was low, so you basically healed him with this nano, which is fine. But I feel like overall it wasn't actually necessary. In this case, you don't really have good targets to nano. Like you don't have a Genji on your team, or you don't have a Reaper on your team, so you could use it situationally on your Reinhardt, or, well, as you did for the McCree right now, like he's low and about to die if you want to save his life. But you can put more thought into it, like make use of it, get the value out of it, rather than, oh shit, I'm gonna die and I'm gonna throw my nano away. What if you would have lost that fight? Then it would have been a waste. So try to use it for situations where you're trying to win the team fight and you're about to cap the next checkpoint. That is usually more important to think about. I'm actually okay with this positioning right here, because your team is like at the payload, obviously pushing it, and it's really close to the checkpoint, which means you know already that the enemy team is coming from this area. This is the fastest way to get back to the payload, and if they want to contest, they have to go through this tunnel. So standing back here where you're completely safe, up here on this high ground, maybe you could shift over to this side, then you have line of sight with your team. You can still heal pretty much everybody here and nobody is gonna come to you. It's the same with overtime. So at every checkpoint, when they're under pressure and when it's overtime, they usually don't focus you in the backline. They have to go and contest, so they have to be present in this area, which leaves them no time to walk all the way to you. So if you keep a safe position, like on the high ground or like further away, then you should be able to win the fight. Unless they have a lot of ults and can wipe you, but that's another story. It's just a general thing. Unfortunately, now you were in the open, or like, yeah, I still consider this the open because you don't have enough time to react when you get shot. This time Ashe actually managed to kill you, but you didn't have time to like back off into this room, or you didn't have time to like go around the corner here. So you're just dead for no reason. Thankfully your team kept the point, so it didn't matter, but you shouldn't make this a usual thing. Normally you shouldn't be able to beat him because you need 3 shots and he needs 2. Unless he's damage boosted by Mercy, then he only needs 1. You could also imagine if they had a Widowmaker. Widowmaker can one-shot you, Hanzo can one-shot you. McCree can also pretty much kill you in like 2-3 shots if they have good aim, so I would always be careful with that. You don't have to take fights that are not supposed to be your fights. It's not really your job to deal with them. All you need to do is survive and your support. Yes, you can deal damage, and sometimes that's a good thing to do, but you still need to focus on like your main job, which is healing and surviving. Okay, standing here is fine because you're like higher up and you can see your teammates better. Okay, this was alright. Like your team got a pick on the Reaper, they did rest the D.Va. Unfortunately you can't reach your Ashe right now. But if you can't see them, then don't sweat it. Like don't try too hard to get to them and heal them. They have to come back to you if they really need heals or get a health pack or something. Okay, unfortunately your Reinhardt died here. and everyone is fighting something up in that corner. This was really risky. It's generally fine if you help out with the damage, but you could see that your McCree was really low, and since he's a DPS, all he can do is deal damage. So you shooting the D.Va, it worked out because your McCree actually survived, but I would prioritize healing him over damaging D.Va. You need to prioritize what to do in which situation. It turned out fine, but imagine D.Va would have killed your McCree, then what? Then you're another person down, you can't really do much. Maybe you don't even manage to kill the D.Va, or she gets her mech back or something, you don't have your sleep dart anymore, you don't have your nade. Like, there's so much that could happen, so think about your priorities. Also, what I find important about prioritizing targets to heal, always heal the ones that are further at the front. So, for example, if your tanks are fighting at the front and they are currently taking a lot of damage, those are the ones that need the healing. If you have DPS in the backline, but they're pretty much safe, then that can wait a little bit longer, because you're trying to keep your team alive. You're trying to keep everybody alive, so you can keep fighting, so they can do their jobs. So let's say Zarya is half health, but then she takes cover and goes around this corner and doesn't take further damage, but your Reinhardt is still at the front and still fighting, still losing his shield and still taking damage. Then you should be healing the Reinhardt and not the Zarya. Because considering Zarya also has 200 HP shield, she will regenerate a little bit and she will be fine. She's out of line of sight, you don't need to heal her, so making sure you heal the right targets at the right time is actually really important as a support. I wouldn't randomly throw out more sleep darts and nades out like you just did here, like you threw it right into a shield that didn't really do anything. Even if you would hit somebody with that sleep dart, look at where your team is. I don't think that anybody will be able to kill that target. So as I mentioned before, I feel like it's very important to get value out of your abilities, because if you just throw it out there, okay, they're gonna sleep 5 seconds, okay, then what? Doesn't matter, because they're still standing there, they're still defending, you're still not pushing the payload and you're still not winning, and you are running out of time. So I find it much more important to keep your sleep dart for more important situations, for when you need it. For example, if somebody is using an ultimate, the enemy Bob, for example, you can sleep that always. Enemy Reaper has ult, you can save your sleep dart to try and stop it, and you can save your entire team. You know, there are like a lot of situations where you could save someone's life and change the team fight in your favor. Okay, that's really dangerous, because you're getting really close again, especially against the Reaper. I've said that to another friend that I reviewed the other day. Reaper deals a lot of damage. He's a melee character. He only needs 2 shots to kill you, so I wouldn't be too close, especially if you know that he has his ult. I can see it at the top that you maybe didn't know during the game. But just consider this, if you have your ultimate, then the enemy probably has it too. So I would always be careful with that. Okay, that was fine, because you saved your sleep dart, or rather, like, it was ready at the right time again. You literally used it before that, but it just happened to be ready. But imagine if you would have used your sleep dart too late, then you would have died, Rhino would have died, McCree died anyway. I mean, it could have turned out so much worse. So luckily you had your sleep dart and you hit it, which is amazing. But you almost died, you're down to 72 HP. And unfortunately he also got Nano boosted right there. So he's dealing even more damage and he survives. That Nano, it was unlucky, I think, in this situation, because you already lost 2 people, and I think you will lose this fight. It could have worked out. You can't really see much from here. The enemy team is like further back here. There's a Bob from your Ashe and she's over here, so there's no help coming from that person. It's like, it's a little chaotic. So the big team fight is going on in here. So you nanoed your Zarya and the Reaper's also nanoed. So if that Zarya, I don't know, it doesn't look good for your team. Either could have saved that ult, or it could have worked out. Couldn't have known, like, it was all very quick. So yeah, you went for Mercy, okay. Yeah, it didn't work out. In the end it wasn't worth it, because I think since you're getting closer to the 3rd point, that is the hardest point to take, because their spawn is so close and they would just come back quickly, and if you don't team wipe them, then you are not gonna get much further with your payload. So in this case, okay, you kept your Zarya alive, and I don't think he should have gone in, because he's not gonna win against 6 people back there. Ashe also died on the other side. You couldn't reach her anyway. She wasted her bob. Basically, it's just you and Zarya against 6 people. It's 2v6 and you're not gonna win this. So basically at this point I would tell, if I was on voice chat, I would tell the Zarya to come back and regroup, because this is not working out. Keeping a Zarya alive is fine if he comes and backs off. Yeah, he did. That's good. Because Zarya probably has high energy. High energy Zarya means a lot of damage. Can potentially deal more damage than a DPS, which is actually pretty good to keep alive. So if Zarya dies, she's back to 0. So it's good to keep her alive and then back off and regroup. Okay, good. Your team got the Reaper, so there is no threat at the backline. He will not be flanking, he will not be damaging you, so that's a good one. And your Reinhardt also charged in to get the Ashe. So those are really good picks. Unfortunately, you lost your Rein. I need to go back to see what exactly happened there again. Your team can maybe do something with it, plus your McCree got the Reaper at the back, so that is not a threat anymore. You threw a sleep dart and you're gonna hide from the D.Va bomb. Normally I would say yes, if you're inactive and you don't have anything to do, as in you don't need to heal or you don't need to damage or anything, always reload. But in this case I think your Rein really needed the heals. So you still had like 8 shots left or something, and now he's gonna die, and because you reloaded it took too long. It took too long to keep him alive. So this game is really fast paced. And every second counts, which is why it's so important to have the right positioning, the right timing, and the right decision making. Okay, you were purple here and you tried to nade yourself, which didn't actually do anything because you were still purple, so you didn't get any heals. The effect is still up, so if you take the health pack, you're right here. You're walking past the health pack. You don't have to rely on the healer because he's stressed out as well, needs to do something else and heal other people. Take health packs, especially when you're this close and you're walking past it anyway. Go for it. It just helps out and keeps you alive longer. I wouldn't worry too much about keeping that Mercy alive if she Valks. She has some self-healing and you might be wasting time looking up. You might get shot yourself and your other teammates might need the help. Okay, thankfully your team managed to kill most of them, but still you can see someone at the front is critical, so that person definitely needs heals. Thank God you went to the payload, and Ashe did too, because overtime was about to expire. Reaper is back again. You also threw your nade, like randomly, you just like tossed it out there, you don't know what's there, you don't know what you're gonna hit. Look out for it and see what you can use it on to make it more useful. Like you can see your tanks are fighting there and he was critical, so I probably would have thrown it over here. So maybe you heal your tanks and damage whatever they're fighting. But instead you like threw it that way and there was nobody anyway, so it's just like you wasted time. You threw your nade for no reason, like it did nothing at all. So if you can just use it for something that is more, where you get more value out of it, that would be so much better. It was good that you slapped the Bob. Unfortunately people woke him up again. Nothing that you can do about. I think you were hiding from the high noon. I think you were mistaking your own McCree with the enemy McCree. That is something that you learn over time with awareness and like just experience. You should know that they don't have a McCree. They were playing Reaper and they were playing Ashe. That was unnecessary to throw the nade onto Bob because he's gonna expire soon anyway or die. Generally, again, especially in overtime or like earlier before you kept the second point, it's much safer if you just stay back here. You can still heal all your teammates. If something comes in, you can still shoot them if you need to. And nobody's gonna come for you because it's overtime, you're about to cap. So all that the enemy will do is go here and the fight is gonna be here. So you don't need to be in the middle of the fight and potentially take damage. So you should be standing back here. You probably don't trust your team to actually stay on the payload because of overtime. That is something that you would have to tell them. Like, tanks, go and contest, make sure you don't C9, like make sure we don't lose the round because somebody just left. But it's not really your job to do that. This one right here is a super dangerous move. Trying to get to their spawn to get a sleep and anti-nade is okay, but can be risky because you never know what's coming out of there. Like, you could try it from a safer distance again. Thankfully it was just supports and you actually hit the sleep dart, so it was decent. But what if their Ashe is coming out that side, or a tank? Like, you can't really run away from them and they're gonna walk into your face and kill you. And if they lose you, then you might still lose the team fight in the end. And that's not what you want. But it worked out. Look at how much damage you've taken. You actually died even. They used the nano boost on the Mercy because that Ana was about to die, which is fine, like, this is the last fight. Throw out all your ults. There's no point saving it, so the only person that Ana on the enemy team could see was the Mercy, so that was fine. And yeah, you died for no reason, like, you could have survived this. It would be better if Mercy wouldn't need to rest you at all. And she almost died there while doing it. So if you look at the screen just a couple seconds ago, Mercy was resting you right there, she was on fire and she was critical. So you should immediately help her. Like, on the right, you can see her burning to death. And unfortunately she died anyway, because Doomfist punched her in the face, but even if he didn't, she would have burned to death. So you're losing both your healers for no reason. If you would stay back and safe, then you wouldn't die, and Mercy wouldn't need to rest and stand still and take all the damage and die as well. Especially in the situation like this where everything is super chaotic and super stressful and like it's literally the last fight. If you don't win this, then you don't get to have another round, you know? Prioritize what you're supposed to do as a support. Keep your team alive. Keep yourself alive. If you keep your team alive, then they can deal the damage for you, so you don't have to deal the damage. Because remember, Ana only deals 60 damage per shot. Other people can deal much more damage than you, if you keep them alive. Yeah, McCree was also in the middle and he was about to die, he was already critical, and then Hamster pile dropped him and he died. So if you would have hit your shot here, you would have survived, and there would have been more damage coming from your McCree. But thankfully, it worked out. But just saying, like, this is a critical moment where you need to do a lot more than this. Fine, the sleep dart was alright on the left side, but surviving and keeping your team alive was definitely a priority here. Alright, moving on to the first point, the defense. This is exactly what I'm talking about with natural cover. You're holding on the high ground for a reason. You should be up here because it's safer, because it gives you the advantage. You could also stand downstairs on the street, but there is not much cover, so that's why people stand up here. Okay, you probably wanted to throw a nade on the enemy team again. Wouldn't have done much. You could get some ult charge, sure, but you threw it into your team, so didn't do a whole lot. And you also threw a sleep dart. That would have been fine here, maybe. Maybe McCree could have gotten a pick there, I don't know. Or your Ashe. Standing further back is actually a good choice here. Especially if they play something like Dive. If they play Winston, D.Va, Genji, Doomfist, they all can get up to this high ground very easily. And you don't want to get hit by that. So there's like a lot of damage coming in for no reason that you can avoid. So it's actually good that you stand back here. I would just go even further back. Because natural cover right here, this rock. So I would be standing here in case you are in trouble. You can always like go around this corner and hide, but you can also peek and look at your team and keep them alive. Okay, I don't think it was necessary to jump down here because again it just like leaves you exposed and you might just take damage. Okay, some panic healing, so you needed like 3 shots to heal that McCree once. So if you take a little bit of time and like be patient, and then align your shot, then you would only need one shot to heal that McCree, and then you can do something else. The sleep dart on this Mercy was really good. This is what you want to save the sleep darts for, situations like that.
Going to be okay.
Okay, I can see that you're trying to contest the payload. This is actually not your job to do. If you were on voice, I would tell my tanks to go and contest because they're about to cap. You're much safer if you stay on the high ground. Like again, you jump down for no reason. You have a sniper rifle. You can heal from really far away. You don't need to be down here. So staying upstairs is definitely a better choice. Yeah, this is, yeah, as I said, like, I kind of expected this to happen because you are in the open. This is what I consider the open. You're on the street and it takes a long time to walk anywhere that is safe. So there Zarya is literally just pressing W and beaming you in the face until you're dead. And there's nothing you can do unless your healer heals you, but she's obviously also busy doing something else. Like, she's not even looking at you, she's healing one of the tanks. And your Ashe doesn't seem to be able to kill her fast enough, so she's also gonna die. So Zarya got a lot of value here. People did not focus him fast enough. He just walked in, got the main healer and Ashe, which is like really good DPS to get rid of. Okay, getting some shots in here is fine. You are, again, using natural cover, which is good. You're on the high ground and you can just take one step to the right and you're safe. So you can try to get some ult charge because you're getting close to it. You only need like 15% more. But if you're getting shot, and you need to be careful if they have a Widow Hanzo or a damage boosted Ashe, you can still get one shot, so I would be careful with that.
You're powered up. Get in there.
It cannot be stopped.
Okay, so you don't really have good targets to combine your nano boost with. You tried here, at least it wasn't the like panic nano. Unlucky that Sigma got interrupted there, so he didn't actually deal any damage at all. But overall it was okay. The choice was okay because he's alone at the front, and you know that nano boost actually reduces damage taken by 50%. I think you threw your sleep dart in randomly again, so if you would have had it here, if you saved it here, you could have slapped the Bob instead. So that didn't work out at all. I think you're about to get snowballed right here. Okay, taking Lucio to get back to point quickly is fine, especially after you used your ult. So you don't really lose your ult charge here by doing that. Didn't work out. Yeah, got snowballed all the way, unfortunately. Okay, you're trying to like anti-nade the enemy team, but your team is not close enough to actually follow up on that. So even if you would purple them, I think you actually hit their Ana right there and their Rein. They're both purple, but nobody can do anything about it. So it's another like useless purple, unfortunately. Maybe it would have been better to throw it at your teammates when they needed the heals, but it was also a combination of Graviton Surge and Doomfist's Meteor Strike, so 200 HP targets are just dead. As you can see in the kill feed, Ashe and Mercy, they just died. So there's not much you can do, you're still getting snowballed. So now you're like in the open again because you're jumping down. I mean, your team already wiped, so basically either you can go and try to survive, like by going this way where nobody can see you, because you're out of line of sight, and then walk all the way back to spawn to regroup, or you just go and die. That is actually also a valid option on other maps. If you can suicide and jump off the map, if the teamfight is lost and you don't want to waste more time, you can just go and kill yourself, because regrouping would be faster. Okay, you're using Moira here. Walking from left to right is like leaving you exposed again to get shot, which you did. You went out on this side and then you walked all the way to the right side. So either go out on the right side immediately or just don't go there at all, because you're just risking to die again. Maybe you would have gotten one shot, you never know. Luckily, the aim of gold players is not that amazing, but if you want to get better, then you should do these things right. The shift on the Doomfist was good, because that would have one-shot you. Okay, now that Doomfist is being pocketed and you won't be able to kill him, then you need to have an eye on your team again, which you did, which is good. Unlucky with the Shatter, you can actually listen to the voice line as Moira, and you can time your shift or your fade accordingly. You can actually avoid shatters if you pay attention to it. You did it afterwards. Yeah, there's just too much pressure. Again, like you're getting snowballed, they have ults and ults and ults and they just keep damaging. There's not so much you can do. Their Ashe is popping off and getting all the kills. Okay, again I feel like you're unnecessarily close to the enemy. You're taking dynamite damage, you have Mercy and Ana, you can only heal one target at a time. The anti-nade on Zarya right here was actually really good because he's close and your team should be punishing that more. Plus you got a sleep dart on that, that is really good, that is of much more value than all the other nades and sleep darts we've had so far. Well, that Zarya should have died, like he was purple, which means he doesn't get healed, and he was slapped. So that's actually really easy to hit. So your team should have actually focused that, but they weren't. So that's not really your fault, but technically those two abilities had so much more value than all the other ones so far. You don't need to be so close to that Zarya. It's like, if he has 100 energy, you're just gonna die. Like, there's so much more pressure on you for no reason when you can just stay further back and be safe. And then, like, be patient with your shots. Like, there were another 2 shots that you missed when Mercy was critical and she could have died. Thankfully, she flew up in the air and didn't take more damage, but you know, like, if Zarya actually keeps beaming her and you miss your shots, then that Mercy is dead and you lose the fight. That's another unnecessary nade again. Like, it seems like you like to use it on cooldown, which you shouldn't be doing. Use it for more important things, like your Genji is low, or you should be healing him at this point. And then he died to... you teabag him because he died to fire, yeah. If you would have kept him alive, then Mercy wouldn't need to rest in the first place. Okay, that sleep dart was a nice hit on the Ashe, but again it was like you immediately woke him up and you anti-naded him, and now he's probably just gonna walk away and none of your teammates can actually do anything about it. So maybe if you left him asleep, then Genji, who just got rest, if he knew that Ashe was sleeping there, then maybe he could follow up and get a kill on her. And your D.Va is right here too, so maybe she could have done something about it. Yeah, you see that? Coach gunned herself to safety, so there's nothing more you can do. And you have 2 critical people on your screen, and you are reloading when you have 7 shots left. So that was like a reload that was not necessary. You really need to keep your team alive right now so they don't have to play passive, they don't have to go for a health pack, so they can actually win the fight for you. If you hit 1 more shot, then you would have gotten your ult and you could have nano bladed with your Genji, which would have been huge. I think you would have gotten the first point here if you did. The sleep dart on this Doomfist was fine, unfortunately you missed. If you hit that, that would have been huge as well. You should have died here, but unfortunately he gets you here, so no nano, no main healer, and you might just lose the fight entirely, and you don't make it back in time anyways. If you would have survived, if Doomfist would have died and you hit that sleep dart, if you would have gotten your nano off, then I think you could have gotten much further and the game would have been winnable. Okay, now here on defense you're playing Baptiste. Right now you're in a safe position, further back you're playing with a Bastion, that's fine. Now you're standing next to this rock where you have natural cover, so that's good. Jumping up is fine because it makes it easier to heal your teammates, because you have like grenades. Helping with the damage on the Zarya was also fine, because if the enemy team is dead, then there's gonna be less damage on your teammates, which means you don't have to heal so much. But also always remember to keep an eye on your team, because that's your primary job. That was a good save on the Bastion, although there's no need to jump down again, because now you might also take some damage and you can't heal yourself. So staying upstairs was actually better. Okay, and here at the end, it's not your job to contest again. You would have to tell your team to do it instead of risking your important life. So especially now, like at least you survived, so I would back off. There was a decent lamp. It was really close, but you survived, so it's fine. You held it. Good. Okay, the thing with not having a defensive ultimate like Lucio's Sound Barrier or Zenyatta's Transcendence, if they have Grav and a combination like Blade or Dragon or anything like that, Barrage or whatever, then you can't do anything about it. You will wipe. Either you need a defensive ult, which at this moment, the current meta doesn't really allow off healers like Zen or Lucio, because the healing overall is just too low. So I think Baptiste was a decent choice, but in this case, if you know that they have Zarya and they have Hanzo, then they will probably do a combination of ults and wipe you all if they get a big Grav. So what does your team need to do? Either your Sigma has to be a big brain and actually soak the Grav, or you guys have to split up, because you can't afford to lose too many people. And right now, looking at your team, they're like all staying together, and if they use Grav, then you're all gonna die. So this is really, really dangerous actually. I know your tanks are trying to protect your Bastion and put a shield in front of him, so that's why everybody is so clumped up. Mercy should be further away, because she doesn't need to be so close either. You can be further away. Standing here is fine as long as you use cover. You don't want to get shot here. Hanzo can one-shot you and Ashe can potentially one-shot you as well. Now you moved forward. The lamp was okay because they use Graph, but I think you should wait with it because the dragon is not coming out yet and they might just destroy the lamp. As you can see right now, I just paused right now, but the lamp is already taking damage and I think they're gonna take it down before your team can get out. Plus, standing here, you can see how Ashe is looking at you, and Hanzo can also shoot you from here. So this is actually a bad position for you right now. Either I would stay behind this rock and then peek when I need to heal and then hide and then shoot again, you know. Okay, you need to use ult, so that's fine. Sigma used his ult. Mercy used her ult kind of late. Bastion got away, but you died. And your Rhine died now because there wasn't enough healing anymore. Okay, luckily you still had quite a few people alive, but imagine if you would have not died to that Ashe. Then you would have another person up, which would make things a lot easier. Unlucky, your Mercy died, couldn't survive anymore, so now at this point they're gonna be free to push because they still have a lot of people up. They still have Zarya, they have... okay, Mercy stunned on the ground, they have Ana, they have Ashe, Hanzo is about to come back. It doesn't look good for your team because they don't need to push so far anymore. And then your Rhine dies. Your other tank came back as Hammond, which is fine because you need to get back fast. But I don't think you will be able to kill them. Like, you need to wipe them in order to win, and there's still like nearly 2 minutes on the clock. Okay, also I think you could have used your ult earlier. Remember that your ult also increases healing output. So maybe you could have out-healed the damage in the graph and keep your people alive longer. rather than using it now, because like you can still take all the damage in the world, and if you're DPSing that means you're not healing. Yeah, it had low value again. And then your team is trying to just contest and you can't really kill them anymore. And then you lose people over time. Taking Doomfist is also fine because he gets back fast. Winston was also a decent choice. You're just like staggering back in. At least you know how to wall ride on Lucio, because this is the fastest way back. The way that you did it, like you increase your movement speed by that, by doing that. But yeah, then people are literally just contesting and all you need to do is kill them, but you have no ults and no characters to do so, so that's how you lose. Okay, so here's the summary. Most important one here is definitely positioning. Always use natural cover, take positions that don't leave you exposed to damage, and play safe. The second one would be your aim. When you're not under pressure, take a bit of time to align your shots and hit, rather than shooting wildly and missing like 3 out of 4 shots and wasting time. You can practice the quick scope. Hit scan shots are more reliable, and if you can practice that, then you might be able to hit more shots in general. Sleep darts and anti-nades. Find good timings to win the fights for your team to use both abilities. Long range sleeps or nades with no follow-up are basically useless. And then also your Nano boost, definitely use it for good combinations like Nano Blade or like Nano Visor, for example. In this case there was no really good target, but it can be used for heals as well. So that's always like very situational, but I wouldn't use like these panic nanos. So if you're like, oh, I'm about to die, then I'm just gonna throw it out to anybody and hope that it will work. So maybe sometimes saving your nano for the next fight might actually be more useful to actually wipe the team and then cap the point. The reloads, you already do that sometimes, but always reload when there is downtime, so you have all your shots ready when you really need it. There were like 1 or 2 situations where you reloaded but you shouldn't have, because reloading is downtime for you. That means there's no healing coming from you and someone might die within that time. The last one would be practice. You just need to play more competitive, you get used to situations, you get a feeling for ultimate economy, you get that muscle memory to hit more sleep darts and so on. So there are probably a lot of more tiny details that can be improved, but those are the first things that I would start working on. I didn't think this video would be so long again, but obviously it is, so I'm trying to cut it down here and there. I'm trying to point out general things rather than going into too much detail. Of course, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Anybody who has any questions, it doesn't have to be Reaper. And as usual, my voice is completely fucked by the end of this video. I'm really not used to talking so much, like for an hour, trying to explain things. It's different if I stream for 5 hours, because I don't talk that much, but explaining things is really like, I don't know, it's destroying my voice, as you can hear. But I hope that things are like understandable in the end, things make sense. If there's any terminology that you do not understand, then just ask. I will try to clarify and help you out, and if there's anything specific that you want me to have a look at, let me know. I hope this was helpful to anyone who was watching, so thank you so much for watching. If you would like to send another replay code, you can do so on my Discord or Twitter. Make sure to check out the other reviews I've done and subscribe for videos every week. I also stream on Twitch 4 to 5 times a week, so make sure to drop a follow over there as well. And yeah, I think that's it for now, so see you in the next video.